So, robots have always been used as a source of technological advancement, fear, and what happens when the machines take over. Here in America, we've also been used as the dangers of technology. In Japan, Astro Boy fights for robots' rights since 1963. They've often been they can either be ally or enemy, as seen in the Terminator. So yeah. But I was also surprised that John Michael Crichton actually wrote and directed a movie with robots from 1973, Westworld, and not the recent TV series, but it did indeed take influence from this one. Thrilling, jabs you awake and keeps you on edge. New York Post. Take off on the vacation of your dreams and wake up to your worst nightmare. From Jurassic Park creator Michael Crichton comes this excellent variety, ingenious Pauline Kael sci-fi thrill about a Westworld fantasy land where amazing lifelike androids look, act, and talk like the real thing until something goes horribly wrong. Starring Yul Brynner, Benjamin, and James Brolin, and bristling with excellent special effects, box office says. Westworld is a high-tech, futuristic, edge-of-your-seat thrill that will leave you breathless. Peter Martin Benjamin and John Blaine Brolin are two businessmen enjoying the ultimate frontier excursion. But when a programming error causes the town's residents to turn deadly, the two must square off against a strong-willed, steely-eyed, automatic gunslinger, Brenner, who's determined to bring their vacation to a murderous conclusion. 1 hour, 29 minutes, and from 1973, of course. This is just... I don't know what to say. I mean, this movie is just... Well, let's look at it this way. This was years before Blade Runner. This was before the Terminator. This was just an absolute movie of, like, something that maybe John Wayne would watch. And this is probably one of Clint Eastwood's favorite movies, if I'm not mistaken, according to the star himself. No, that was Sergeant York. Whoops. Anyway, if you want to talk about a performance of just looking fearsome without having to say much, just the fact that we've got the bald-headed guy, Russian actor, I was surprised, who played Ramses II in The Ten Commandments and King Lear on stage, I think 4,000 times, if I'm not mistaken, who has a bald head. Just an absolute menace. So it's like, alright, so there are three worlds. There is Westworld, there is Medieval World, and Roman World, and robots in there to inhabit it to become the NPCs, to use a modern term, if you will. And, pay $1,000 and Dalos, D-A-L-O-S, will, $1,000 a day, you can experience the ultimate vacation. Choose one of the three worlds. And, one guy with a mustache, one guy without, goes into here, and they decide, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, we are going to just pretend to be cowboys. We're just going to be, like, on the set of Gunsmoke, The Big Valley, Bat Masterson. I know I'm missing another popular one. But just, it's like, imagine if those TV shows from the 50s through the 70s mixed with sci-fi. Yeah, it is a truly interesting combination. And, things start to go a little weird because all the programming going on it's like, alright, what's going on here? It's an example of two different things. Corporate greed, where they won't overlook a problem that's been documented, and also what happens when technology rises. Age-old tropes that are still being told nowadays. And for the first one, I felt like it was going to go a certain direction of all three worlds kind of colliding, but it only really touches on the medieval world where two people fight and robot wins, which I'm like, eh. Then, of course, we get to Westworld, where James Brolin, Josh Brolin, a.k.a. Thanos, his father, second movie I watched with him, first one being Capricorn 1, goes against a robot that's gone haywire, which they don't give much of an explanation for. I guess you could call it mass circuitry psychosis. I'm like, okay, so yeah. And what happens in the second half is a silent movie. It's like if Charlie Chaplin, all right, or Vivian Monroe, or even Buster Keaton were to make a Western chase movie, this is what it would be. Yeah, and you know, it's like this movie I noticed is two halves. One that deals with the premise of what could possibly happen. You know, like we have a future world. It's kind of like where's that one movie? It's like, hey, pay a little bit of money, select what dream you want to have for the night, and then you'll be transported to a fantasy land. I know there's something based off of that. I forgot what, but imagine that concept, but here. And the second half is a silent but deadly chase. Where this is where Yul Brynner's performance comes in, where he just looks menacing because in order to get that, with the context, they had to put in like an 80% reflection contact with like rainbows and stuff. With not rainbows, but whatever it was. It's just there's just a key which I swear sounds like Gunsmoke. But this is not James or Ness. This is just an outright deadly pursuit where the android has this where you could tell like how he is, like, you know, with an android, like how they have the thermal scan. They did was they took this concept, it was like the first digital imaging in order to create how an android could perceive it, and it's shown in glimpses here and there of like several rectangles that kind of make up this kind of like, I don't know, NES-ish style graphic interface, and it's really interesting and cool to look at. We get like a couple of glimpses because they eventually figured out, because the company eventually figured out how to get it like perfectly done, so it would only take 8 hours to produce 10 seconds of the android's GUI, I guess you could call it the vision, the way how he sees it. This is the first movie to integrate it, and it looked really darn good. I was very surprised by that, and you get to see it. You get to see like a mountainside, cliffside, but then eventually it's because this robot gets damaged, and it can't discern fire from regular human being, aka can't discern heat sources and infrared. So I was like, all right then. That second half, it was jarring. I have to say that. And this is where we get to see the rather really dang good performance that Brenner does. Just looking menacing because of his bald head, you know. And I'm like, dang. Yeah, visually this movie is nice to look at, especially when they travel throughout medieval world. It was personally my favorite. Also, this movie does have a sense of humor, where they're like ordering something. What was it in the trailer? It was like, I want to drink this, got something on the rocks in a little shot glass, and then the other guy just tells him he's new here, just give him a whiskey. Then of course, just like you would see, a brawl ensues, and there's just tables flying, chairs being whacked, and everything. I think the robots provide some entertainment. Well, our two heroes are just sitting at the edge, playing poker. The table gets broken, and they just say, "How rude!" Of course, there's the ladies where they go up and they have a good time. One guy, and then the mustacheless guy, Richard Benjamin says, "Boy, what was this? It was a kind of a funny quip." So this movie does have a sense of humor, but at the same time, it kind of plays with like B grade Western tropes, especially when they're trying to kill a snake. I'm like, you idiots can't even shoot a snake, really? And they kind of feel giddy because it's like, oh, we're feeling like a child because we get to play in a Western. So yeah. So for a directorial debut, before Michael Crichton would go to write Jurassic Park, of course, it's a really gosh darn good one. But at the same time, seeing the jarring juxtaposition of the lively three worlds, the robots coming alive for no particular reason, and then the silent movie chase, that's something I did keep in mind. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And I mean, really, this actually is a really good movie. So if you want to see like when the very beginning of CGI, Great performance, Yul Brenner and James Brolin, and just see how robots are. I recommend that you watch 1973's Westworld.